I'm trying to stay calm about this, but the decision to fine every member of Pakistan's T20 World Cup squad 5 million rupees for poor performance is one of the most counterproductive policies I've ever seen in international sport. Let's deal with the facts first. Every squad member of the Pakistan team that came to the T20 World Cup here in Sri Lanka has been fined 5 million Pakistani rupees. That's 18,000 US dollars. These fines were not for disciplinary reasons. They were not for breaches of conduct during the tournament. This was purely performance-based punishment. The fines were imposed after the 61-run defeat to India in the group stage. Players were reportedly told that the fines would be waived if Pakistan could reach the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup. They didn't. Pakistan progressed to the Super 8 stage, avoided a third straight first-round exit, but then suffered a washout against New Zealand, a defeat to England, and a narrow win over Sri Lanka, and that wasn't enough to qualify. This is now the fourth consecutive ICC men's event where Pakistan have missed the semi-finals, the first time that has happened in their history. Now, the reason I tell you that is because that context matters. That's bitterly disappointing, really frustrating, anger-inducing, but here's the issue. You cannot fine professional athletes for losing, not because losing is acceptable, but because performance in sport is probabilistic. You prepare, you strategize, you compete, and sometimes you lose, especially in T20 cricket, the most volatile format in the sport. One power play collapse, one mistimed chase, one rain washout, and you're out. If we're starting to financially penalize players for competitive outcomes, where does that logic end? It's, frankly, stupid. Should New Zealand players have been fined when they were knocked out in 2022? Should South Africa have been invoiced for semi-final heartbreaks? Should England have been docked pay after 2015? This is a dangerous, dangerous precedent because it reframes sport as guaranteed deliverables rather than contested outcomes. And let's talk about unintended consequences. What does this do to player psychology? Just think about it, especially Pakistan's team, who face an intense amount of scrutiny at the best of times. You're already playing under immense national scrutiny. Now add personal financial liability to the equation. You're not just representing your country, you're potentially paying, literally paying for defeat. That doesn't breed freedom, it breeds fear. And sport played in fear is rarely, if ever, its best version. Now, some people will say, good, they deserve it. Okay, then let's be consistent. If players are financially held responsible for this failure, are administrators, are selection panels fined when their squads are poorly balanced? Are scheduling decisions reviewed? Are structural preparation lapses financially punished? Because performance is ecosystem driven. It's not just about the players. Players operate inside systems. You cannot isolate accountability to the most visible actors. And here's another key point. Please do follow me on this point, okay? There were players in that tournament who performed exceptionally, in the T20 World Cup. Sahibzada Farhan broke the record for most runs at a T20 World Cup and became the only player to score 2 centuries in a single edition. He's fined too. They fined him as well. They signed... So individual excellence inside collective failure is irrelevant. That's so reductive. This policy feels less like reform and more like optics. It feels like something designed to signal toughness to critics. Look, we're being strict. But strictness without structural change is just theatre. And Pakistani cricket has history here. Earlier this year, following a narrow defeat to last year after the Asia Cup final, the PCB suspended NOC's non-objection certificates that allowed players to participate in overseas leagues. Now, that suspension was later lifted, but can you see the pattern developing here? Now we have performance-based fines. This pattern suggests reactive governance, not strategic reform. If you want to fix underperformance, you invest in pathways, you examine domestic structures, you review leadership models, you assess preparation cycles, you do the unglamorous work. You do not invoice your dressing room. That's madness. Because here's the uncomfortable truth, right? Finding players, it won't improve their techniques. It won't magically turn them into amazing batters or amazing bowlers or anything like that. It doesn't improve selection clarity. It doesn't improve talent pipelines. It doesn't fix systemic inability or instability, I should say. It simply redistributes frustration. And in professional sport, frustration without reform is just noise. I understand the public anger. I've seen it my whole life following Pakistani cricket. Pakistan is a proud cricketing nation. Expectations are high, but sport cannot become a space where athletes are personally penalized for not delivering a trophy. It's mental. Contracts already contain performance incentives. Central retainers are tiered. Selection is merit-based. There are already consequences. This adds humiliation to volatility. And it sets a precedent that I genuinely hope does not spread. Could you imagine other sports doing the same thing? Imagine if football clubs, NBA franchises, Olympic federations all adopted this logic. You lose, you pay. Elite sport would become risk-averse, fearful, and transactional in the worst way possible. Nobody would want to watch that. Nobody would want to watch that. Accountability is essential, but accountability must be systemic, not symbolic. And until administrators are willing to share the burden of failure in the same way players are being asked to, this policy looks less like strength and more like deflection. Pakistani cricket deserves better than gesture politics, and so do its players. That's what I think anyway. Let me know if I'm wrong. Like this video, subscribe, all that stuff. Right now, this just feels absurd. I'm sorry, but it's just poor governance.